In this video, you're going to learn all about array destructuring in JavaScript. So let's dive right in. Let's first define an array of numbers. We'll call the variable numbers, like this. So by doing this, we can say that we packed these values into the variable called numbers. Let's now fetch those numbers and assign them to individual variables. Numbers of 0, then b is numbers of 1, and we would continue on doing this. As you can see, the more values we have, the more repeating we have to do. So we have to repeat numbers all the time. So how can we achieve the same thing without repeating ourselves? So let's remove this now, and let's do this the other way. So we're gonna write A, B, C, D in here, and then we're gonna put numbers on the right. So this is called array destructuring. We have pattern on the left, which tells us how these array elements are gonna be extracted from the numbers array. So we're gonna log those out. Logging out A, and then let's log out B. We can copy paste these, C, D. Okay, so as you can see, we got these logged out right here. So A got assigned to 10, B to 20, and so on. So we don't have to declare and destructure at the same time, so we can do the declaring of variables in a separate line, like this. And now if we save it, we get the same thing. Alright, but now let's try removing some variables in here, in the destructuring syntax, like this. So we got A and D right here. We can remove the ones which we removed from the log. Okay, let's save it. And as you can see, we got 10 and 20. Only the first two elements were picked up by the destructuring syntax. And the rest, 30 and 40, are just ignored. Now let's add these elements back. And let's add some extra ones right here, E and F. We can bring these logs back. So what's gonna happen now? Let's additionally log out the E, and let's log out F as well, like this. Alright, so as you can see, E and F are undefined, since the corresponding elements in the numbers array don't exist. So by default, we get undefined for those. So let's see what happens when we say E is equal to 0 here, and F is equal to 0 as well. We save it, and now you can see we got zeros here instead of undefined. So this is the way to control what value certain elements are assigned to if they don't exist in the array we are destructuring. If we put equals to A is equal to 0 here, and we save it, we can see that A still stays the same, because A is the first element, and the first element exists in the numbers array. Let's remove these default values right now. And let's remove the E and F and the logs right there. Now what we can also do is remove one of the elements and just leave 2 commas in a row. What this means is just skip the second element. So if we save this now, you can see that B is undefined, A is 10, C is 30. So we have skipped the 20 value, 20. We can also skip as many values as we want and just keep adding commas, but it gets quite unreadable, so I would avoid it. Let's start from scratch now, so let's remove all of this. Let's do another destructuring. So let's put again A, B, C, D, and we're gonna destructure this string right here. Let's say cool. So let's just log out the individual variables A, B, C, and D and see what we get. We save it. Okay, so we can see that A is equal to C, B is equal to O, and so on. So the string was destructured pretty much without any problems, because array destructuring works with any kind of iterable data type, and string is one of those. Okay, let's see another example. Let's define an array called destination, and we're gonna add the first element Paris, and the second element is gonna be another array which is nested inside of the destination, so it's gonna contain the coordinates of the city Paris. So now let's destructure this array. We're gonna write const and then city being the first variable, and then we wanna destructure the individual coordinates, and we're gonna just keep on matching latitude, longitude, and we put destination on the right. So this way you can see that we matched the pattern on the left with the destination on the right. So city is gonna hold the value Paris, latitude is gonna hold the value of 48, point blah blah blah, longitude this one. Alright, so let's log it out. Latitude, longitude. We can see that we got what we expected. Alright, back to the blank canvas. Okay, now we'll see some tricks we can do using array destructuring. Let's first define a variable A is equal to 1, B equal to 2. And now let's assume we want to swap these variables. So we're gonna write BA right here is equal to AB. Okay, let's log out these variables, A and B, and if we save it, we can see that A got the value of 2 and B got the value of 1, which is the inverse of how we started. So this is another application of array destructuring. Alright, let's see another trick. Let's define a function called getPerson. And let's say within this function we have two variables. We have name, and it's gonna equal to Johnny, and we have an age equal to 30. And now what we want to do, we want to return multiple values from this function. So we're gonna return an array of name and age. Okay, so somewhere in the program where we are going to call this function, we want to capture those variables, both of them. And we can do that by, of course, using array destructuring. So like that, and we put name, or let's say person name, and person age. Alright, and if we log those out, so person name, whoops, and person age. Okay, if we log those out, we can see that person name got Johnny, person age got 30. So we have effectively returned multiple values from this function right here. Using array destructuring, we have captured those into individual variables. Boom, quite neat. Alright, let's remove all of those. So let's see a final trick we can do. Let's start with back again with the numbers variable. We'll define 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's do the following right now. Let's say we are using array destructuring for the first two variables, a and b, but we have this now. We have spread operator with the variable name rest. And we have numbers on the right. So what will this do? Well, if we log out rest to the console and we save it, we can see that we actually got an array of 3, 4, and 5. And that is because we have destructured the first two values of the numbers array, 1 and 2, and then we said use the spread operator to capture the remaining values into the variable called rest, and that gets captured as another array. One thing to note here is that this should always be at the end of the array, so it doesn't make sense to put it in the middle or in the beginning of the array. It only works when it's in the end of the array. And another thing to keep in mind is that now rest is actually a copy of these numbers. If we modify some of those elements in this array, the numbers array is going to be unaffected. So since this is a copy, what we can also do is we can do this. Let's say numbers copy and numbers. This is another trick we can use to just duplicate the numbers array into a new variable, into a new array essentially. So if we log it out, we get the same elements as the numbers array. And if we modify this array, numbers will stay intact. Okay, so that's it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want updates on the videos, and check the link to my blog in the description. Until next time, stay Codelistic.